Welcome to Wireless Applications and our dirt simple telecom tools. In this how-to video we're going to show you a second case study using our tool called Path eFinder. It is used for designing the straightest microwave routes between two distant points. Among our greatest features in SiteSync Pro is this tool called Path eFinder or eFinder for short. It is for connecting two remote endpoints such as two cities and finding the lowest latency route between them using the best towers on the route. The feature is available throughout the mapping area SiteSync and triggered off of having many dots/sites on the screen and then selecting two endpoints to getting the process started. In this session we will focus on the high-frequency traders or other data centers needing the lowest latency and straightest paths. This is the Part 2 video on eFinder. Our how-to video this time will show you more extras as we go through the use of the eFinder feature. One of which is making custom lines. This layer line will also be useful for other projects throughout SiteSync Pro. We will be using lines to select a buffer area and then find structures that will be used in eFinder. Let's get started. Custom lines can be built throughout SiteSync Pro. For us, we will create ours in the structure search component. First, we are going to show existing lines we already created for the many data centers throughout the USA. Users must be in the WAC map for the Extras button to show up. Click on that for viewing the many layers from FCC boundaries to quiet zones to polygons. Here we want to show custom lines. Turning this on will show that layer, which will also show up in the Google and Bing maps once it is chosen. Click Extras again to close. The area that we are going to be looking at for this video is between the data centers of Denver out to Kansas. Clicking on the rubber band zoom, we will zoom into this area. And then selecting the WAC E tool, let's use the left click and drag command to create a new geodesic custom line. From Denver, hold down the Shift key, and we will snap that to the Kansas City dot. Let's confirm that the A site snapped into Denver while still holding Shift. Now make sure it's the correct location. Let's use our mouse wheel to zoom into the Denver area. And since we are in the WAC E tool, we need to use the arrow keys to pan around. As we get close, let's go ahead and click into Google Maps so we get into the satellite views. Now let's zoom all the way down into the central business district and make sure that we really are on this particular data center. Now let's look at the Kansas endpoint. Let's use the jump to box to get there quickly. Located at the top of the map, we want to just type the first letters for Kansas. Hit enter, and we will zoom there. And then let's zoom into this closer to make sure that this is still the right data center. It is. With the E tool pop-up still open, we need to make this into our custom line for the project. Click the custom line, and let's change up the look of our geodesic line. Make sure you put endpoints on your lines. And also let's name this Denver to Kansas and save. We can now close this pop-up as we have assigned it as a custom line layer in Extras. Now let's assign one of our each arm zoom areas for our project. We will start by clicking our USA icon to zoom out. Then rubber band zoom to our Denver, Kansas line. Then, right-click on the USA icon for menu, and set this to preset 6, then rename as Denver to Kansas. Hit enter to save that. Now, if we click back into USA, then click on our Denver to Kansas charm, it will just auto-zoom us to this area for future referencing. We next want to create a buffer polygon search around this new line for search structures. Use the WAC E tool for this selection. Go ahead and left-click on the line. This will bring up all the geo data for this location. However, in this case, we want the line that it found called Denver to Kansas. We can click that. Opening this since it was existing, we have a new link that says Create Buffer. We click it. This pop-up allows us to create a buffer around the line. For this first query, we do not need to capture that many sites behind the endpoints, so we are going to unlink the buffers. Then on the line itself, we are going to place a 7-mile search buffer there. We will go ahead and click Search. This will search the defaults of the core WAC databases. Looks like we have results of around 5,500 structures. And without thinning any of these, we will just go straight into the Path eFinder link. Statistics show that there are enough dots to connect through per the distant defaults, we just don't know if they have clearances. The alert on the bottom shows the user if there are too many paths to consider. Let's see if eFinder finds a route by clicking Run. By default, eFinder runs our consolidate process to thin out the dupe records on the fly. Meaning if 5 records are at the same location, the best ASR, or record with the best data gets chosen. It looks like around 20,000 paths were tested and we found a few trails already. I will go ahead and zoom into this main kink area. We can see that it rose up in these different areas. Looks like 3.5 miles out of the straight geodesic line. Looking at this first one, there are some kinks in it. Let's take a look at what eFinder had to work with. In the Possible Paths tab, which lets you turn on all possible, or all failed paths. Let's turn on all possible to see what happened. eFinder always looks for the fastest generative method of analysis on the massive amounts of sites to find a trail with an expansion process. Here it is easy to see that of these sites were not considered, looking at the light blue outlines. We want to force eFinder to recheck sites not considered on the first round, and see if we can get this kink removed. eFinder has a feature to consider exactly these situations. Let's force some additional sites into the analysis. These sites on the bottom, they barely missed being captured. We can add them easily. Just click on the red dots, looks like they are multiple records. In these records we can see they are sourced from OEAAA or FAA, meaning only tip heights are there, but eFinder picks the best available heights, since that is the default setting. What we want to do is click on the Analyze for Special Conditions link. You will see that eFinder has moved the tabs to Special Conditions. Click the links for each of these records that exist, all 4 of them. Can close this pop-up. What we have done is selected these 4 sites to put them into special eFinder conditions. We are going to tell eFinder what we want it to do. Checking the individual boxes, or can just click all, then can toggle these expansions into force, or we can use the more actions to do them all at once, switch expansion mode to force. What this does, is it tells eFinder that even though its expansion captured only that top section first, that it's going to be forced to include this one that barely left out. Now let's run this again. It's still going to run around 20,000 paths it looks like. Sweet. Just that little addition made the trail change. Let's see what our total distance is. Our total went down to 2.1 miles out of straight. Let's turn on the all paths again. Move this over. Oh, looks like we are still missing out on some potentials. We need to get these into the action as well, and see if we get an even better trail. This time we will use the Whack E tool. We need to hold down the Control key and create a polygon select. Click out these sites, and we will just capture, let's just capture all of these. Now double-click to close the polygon. In the pop-up for polygon actions, we have analyzed for special conditions because we are in eFinder. We click that. This adds all of those records. If they've already been added, eFinder will not duplicate them. Down at the bottom we see all the additional sites. This time we are going to click Select All again, then More Actions, and we will just force every one of these sites to be into the analysis. Hit Run one more time. And just like that, we are now down to 1.1 miles out. And we didn't even do that much work for the whole process, and we know we have multiple trails. Next, we must consider build out reality and clean up records. For that, we are going to abandon this whole search structures area and push the results of existing locations into a portfolio. This allows us a more serious approach given our research. First, we close eFinder and the polygon pop-ups. We will scroll down to the data. We want to select all records, then more actions, then add sites to portfolio. Let's name this Denver to Kansas. It's very important to click on the Consolidate Sites box because we want clean the 5,500 records down to more unique ones. Remember, Consolidate will find the clusters and pick the best record within this default setting of 50 feet. Note that the results might be slightly different than what we had in eFinder earlier. Go ahead and click OK and the portfolio will be made. We can go ahead and just click the link to open that up. Let's first just make sure we still see a eFinder route quickly by using the WAC E tool and clicking on the line to select it. We see that our custom layer is here for the Denver to Kansas line. This time on the pop-up we still see our edit mode for the line itself, but we get new features of which the path eFinder link is part of. Click that. The first thing that we want to do is adjust the buffers. In this case we just adjust to 7 miles for both endpoint and line. Because in this portfolio, we don't have any dots going beyond the 1 mile buffer that we originally did. Go ahead and run. We only have 3,100 records or so for now, which will make this faster. Great! We have that same results that we had in structure search. Next we will grab all of those same sites in the polygon box and add them as special conditions. Let's navigate to our area, then select those with our polygon feature. Hold down Control key, and we will outline these same sites. Double-click to close the polygon, now analyze for special conditions. We can close the pop-up. Now select all of these and the More Actions menu, switch expansion mode to Force. Let's run that again. Okay, we are back down to the 1.1 miles. The core reason we want to have sites in portfolios is to start the process of site reviews. This one is currently all types of towers and records, and as we know in telecom, just because companies filed regulatory, does not mean they built it, or it was built long ago and possibly abandoned. We could just select out records in the settings to be approved or constructed in their site status. However, WAC recommends taking a few minutes to use our tools to verify. There are going to be surprises, either good or bad, yet always better to find out now. We can see the records picked for the orange trail line. They are highlighted with halos around them. On this first group of sites that we included early on, let's investigate them by clicking on the dot cluster. This gives us the pop-up of a summary, but what we want is pause and fix, also known as PNF. Let's click on the info link to open that. Once in pause and fix, you can click on the Google map. We now zoom in and quickly notice there is no tower there. Did we know this? Well, this is a demo, so yes, but hang on, this is cool stuff. Let's check the Bing map. There is no site either. Let's scroll down in pause and fix and open the record site compliance query. We have the hidden gems. This record has both FCC and FAA registrations. However, there is no FAA direct known as the OEAAA constructed. The other research status for the FCC ASR shows us that it was only granted. It was also never constructed. The record does exist, they were just not deleted at the FCC or FAA, and now we know, never built. Since we have now researched this record, Pause and Fix has fields where you can show you that you've touched the record. Wireless Applications says, it is very important not to just delete a record. As your company goes further into this project and site acquisition can't get you those perfect sites, you want somebody, or even yourself, not redoing research again, only to see that this record was already vetted. What we will do is up to 3 separate things. First, I don't want eFinder to use it again. The easiest way to do that is to adjust the heights to 1 foot tall. And then, in the notes section, show that you changed that. The second is we can edit its status to dead. When we run thematic labeling, we will be able to know we touched it. And third, let's color up the symbol. This will also help us in thematics. We will make this a stop sign and make it red on the outside. Save. Now save and close this entire record. Since we are zoomed in here, let's check out the other location right next door in Pause and Fix. This is a different location. But as we're already finding in Google, we are not seeing a site and nowhere else nearby. Let's go to Bing. Same situation. There are no guide towers here, and this is supposed to be a 350-footer, so it would be pretty easy to spot. Since we are in Pause and Fix, we scroll down again to Site Compliance to look at existing records. This is a similar situation, there is a granted, but not a construction notice to the FCC. And this time, we do not have OEAAA record, only a record that belongs in the FCC's FAA database. Even though they got a determination letter, it was never shown as constructed. We will ID this one the same way. 350 feet down to 1. And we will write our notes. We will change the status to dead, and we will change the icon to the stop sign. Save and close. Let's go ahead and run again and see what eFinder does this time. You have our trail, which is good, however it forced us all the way to that north side again. Let's show you another solution for these challenges. We are going to propose a new site right on the straight line. Let's zoom in, and then we will convert to Google Map and continue to zoom in more. As we zoom in, we can see our straight line in blue in the middle. Over here we can see Farmer Joe's house. This would tell us there is power close by. There does appear to be some power poles on the road. We will pan over to the next main intersection. Zooming back out, we can see this field could be used if we stick to the corner, away from potential circle farming and closer to power. Farmers are generally open to corner sections. We will go ahead and pick this spot, and there is a good chance power is on one of these roads. How we do this ad is Wacky tool again. This time we click a single spot, giving enough room for the guide tower. We will left-click a single location. This time we want to add to portfolio that we're currently in. This immediately opens up Pause and Fix and puts in the lat and long and the information for the ground elevation in. It gives you a name, but we probably want to put our own name in. We want to propose a 280-footer because in this area, it's not going to be an issue on the heights and is flat. We can even click this address link and it will pre-fill closest we find. We are proposing a guide tower. The status should be new. Just start typing the text here, and it will give us all the filtering of matches, and there is new to select. We do not need to do any of the regulatory yet because if this is a greenfield tower, we need to propose that into the regulatory department. Go ahead and save and close. We'll close the pop-up. And let's go back to our area. We can now see our new site here, sweet. Before we go to the running mode, we must first force run it. Go ahead and click on the added site, and push it into Analyze for special conditions. Soon as we click that, it will put it to the bottom of our list. Go ahead and force this, and it doesn't matter if we check this or not. Let's close the pop-up and run. That was quite productive. We are now down to just 0.7 miles from straight. At this point, you, the user, would continue to vet more sites, add notes, and run through your edits. Even change symbols so that you can show your work later in thematics. Next, we are going to thin out more sites to clean this portfolio even more. Go ahead and close eFinder for now. And let's zoom out to the whole project with our wacky charms. The thing I noticed running this demo is the clusters of sites at the ends of Denver and Kansas, even though we did the radius of 1 mile behind them. We can zoom into Denver and take a look. We have Denver Airport up in the north area. Even though we cut the radius, it's still going to capture and run all of these records that we just don't need each time. Clicking on a cluster, we can see something that is going to be easy to clean up. This is what's called on-airport filings. They are identified by the NRA text at the end of their FAA record number, or ASN. Our easy record grab is going to be done with the quick filter feature. We simply have to add the text -NRA, and this will filter to the bottom with all of those records that meet that condition. We have over 1,000 records that we can quickly delete. These records are notorious for having wrong data. For instance, resorting by heights, I see a 1,200-foot tall one. That is not happening at an airport. We will select all and then more actions and scroll down to where the delete feature is and delete those 1,100 records. Great, that thinned out a lot. We now know we can easily get a path out of both cities in a straight line. This may not always be your case, but for this one we do not need all these extra sites up on the north side. Let's use our Whack E tool and make a polygon triangle to capture out a section on the north side. Hold down the control button, and we'll make a straight line out here, and we are going to make a triangle down to this area. We can just double-click to close that. In the pop-up we want to do a select. That will select all of these locations that we just captured. Now more actions, scroll down to the bottom, and we will delete all those records. We will do the same polygon creation for the south side, and then we will move to the other city. Hold down Control, then we will capture out to here, make a triangle, close and select. Then more actions, delete. That already thinned out a lot more. To get to the Kansas area quickly we could zoom out. Instead, we will use our jump to box and enter the text Kansas and enter. Now we use the Whack E tool again. We will zoom in here. Click the Control key, come out here a ways. Double-click. Select more actions and delete. Last one, Whack E tool, Control, make our little triangle. Select. More actions, and delete. Go back to our project zoom level of Denver and Kansas, then back in so that we are in that same spot again. This will speed up eFinder and let us focus on fewer sites when we go further into the editing and cleaning. To look at the system again, we are going to click on the Whack E tool, and then single-click on the line, and look for our Denver to Kansas link. That gets us the pop-up, however, this time we'll go straight into Path eFinder. Move this a little bit. First things first, we want to make sure that our settings are to 7 miles on our buffer, but we no longer care about unhooking the endpoints because we are in one complete portfolio now and all the sites can be part of it. because we want to include all those sites in the middle that we had added before. Click on the WAC E tool and let's polygon those out again into a rectangle, double-click to close. This time we want to analyze for special conditions. That puts us into that area and we'll click all, then more actions, and we will make all of these forced. We can close the polygon tool. Before running, this time we will add more complexities to our eFinder analysis and weed out other sites via our Settings tab. What we are after is editing and cleaning as few of the 1,200 sites as we move through the project as possible. Let's look at what we can do to get that list narrowed down further. First, we are going to add another terrain layer called SRTM. That dataset represents a clutter layer as in trees, buildings, and other obstructions. Next, we will adjust the path choices for center lines. This allows the adjustment from the top heights of all the records down for dishes. In this case, let's put a -15 feet. What we are saying is, we want 15 feet down from all the best heights that eFinder finds coming from the portfolio. Note that, for this field you can put a negative or a positive. If you put a positive in, it will bring each up 15 feet. That might be the case when you're making zero trails or bad ones and you want something to happen. Let's now check into the types of record status. We are going to try to take some possible non-build records right out from the beginning. We can take out the status, dead, dismantled, cancelled, and terminated. Next, we may end up needing to leave today and come back to this same eFinder configuration tomorrow or after lunch. eFinder has in it a load save command. Up here on the top we can hit save. Let's save our settings as the Denver to Kansas config. We can write some notes in there too. If we come back later to SiteSync, we just click the line and then click the load button. It will hold the common settings. It will not, however, grab your special conditions, so you still have to grab those. Let's go ahead and run these settings as it will be a lot quicker since we have thinned sites. Wow! Would you look at that, we are only 0.8 miles out of straight for this path. With latency per radio in the setting box here, at 0.327, we have a total latency of 3015 mics out of this 559-mile path. Now that we have a workable trail, our next stage is pushing our route of paths into the full design area. This is an exciting part of SiteSync Pro for microwave automation. For eFinder and other design areas, WAC doesn't really care about the frequency settings when starting these projects. That is mostly due to our microwave templates. Going back to Settings tab, we see that eFinder is always defaulted to the 6 gig lower band. This is due to the 6 gig having the larger Fresnel zone. So that once you do assign common carrier bands later, you should always have clearances, because the higher frequencies have smaller zones. In the Trail tab, the first trail is already picked. What we want to do is go into More Actions and push these into View Saved Paths Design area. This pops up our template assignments automatically. What we want to do first is always name your VSP group. We will name this to the Denver one. There are two categories here for templates. This one that defaults is called Company. This is when you make your own templates and share them with your own company accounts. They will be in this pull down. You may have many favorites that you or others put together. Then as SiteSync Pro itself, WAC has preloaded a number of them to show you how they can work with various templates that might help you get started on your designs. We are going to pick the SiteSync one and then pull down the menu and pick that Saragon EX. We can already see on Match to Templates that 18 out of 18 paths were already pre-assigned. So 14 of them fell into this category here, which has this radio and size, and then 2 fell into this next category, 1 fell into this, and the last one fell into this. We will go ahead and push all of these and see what our design looks like. Currently what this is doing is it's assigning each one of those paths to a preset template in that group, with your favorite radios and your favorite dish per that design. Is this going to be perfect? Perhaps not, but it could, depending on how tight you've made your templates in the microwave group assignments. They could be spot on minus the lowest center lines from the minus 15-foot setting. As we look at our paths, all of our availability numbers have already been calculated. Our channels are going to be defaulted to the first channel in each band for the width. If needing to share amongst your company, these default to personal, meaning you would reselect to share to other members. As you find design issues or have sites that fall out, users can stay in this view save path area and adjust or start completely over from eFinder. Our engineers normally stay in the view saved path area and edit, as all of these designs are anchored to the portfolio, which is what you want to continue doing. If we open up in Design Edit, we will see the full path design and what it has chosen. When we say it's anchored to the portfolios, it will show you up here that it's tied in gray, in this case our Denver to Kansas one. The gray areas here mean that it's assigned to that location and stuck to that, meaning it's anchored to the information in that pause and fix record. When you want to change the coordinates, it's really in your best interest to change it in the pause and fix record in the portfolio. You can still edit and override here for your designs, however. Before we end this demo, we are going to quickly power through a Chicago route down to Kansas, a straight trade route to the data centers. We are going to take no breaks and do it under 40 seconds. Stay with me and check this out, it's cool. First we go into Structure Search, open up that in a new tab. We are going to zoom out to that path, which is the blue one. Next, going to use our WAC-E tool. Click on that, now find our line Chicago to Kansas. Next, create a line buffer. We are gonna unhook the link, then go 4 miles. Click the search. We have strong results. Right from this pop-up, we go straight into Path eFinder. We are not even going to change any of the defaults, we are just going to run. Boom! 382-mile route and only 0.02 miles out of straight. Wow! Now you know why we didn't do this demo for our how-to video. Benefits to our users on designing microwave paths inside of SiteSync are enhanced with our value-added integration of frequency analysis and coordination and the FCC filings of paths. As a separate charging event, users can check the boxes on their paths, then hit more actions and push them straight into coordination. Or they can set the privacy to read, write, and send us an email saying, "Hey, I just flipped this path to you so you can start the frequency analysis." Wireless Applications has charging events for that process and would then start the interference analysis for all the keyhole areas around each location. This goes out to about 250 miles, searching for all existing paths, applications, and all coordination that's in that particular band that you're in for analysis. From there it's on to the PCN process and sending those out the door, and dealing with any arguments to the cases. And then finally, preparing and filing the FCC forms if you want our company to provide that service. We appreciate all the time you've spent watching this video for our Path eFinder. Thank you very much.